Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Got another big old stack of the fun stuff tonight, ladies and gentlemen. A cornucopia of topic items to go over. Sitting in the hot seat as usual, my co-host for this evening's festivities, none other than the great wizard of historical knowledge himself and Jesus lookalike, Mr. Eric Smith. How are you doing tonight there, Mr. Smith?
Well, I'm doing like a man who has turned the beat around.
You have turned the beat around.
Maybe even upside down, I would venture.
I witnessed this, and I will say that you have, in fact, turned the beat around. You have.
Well,
yes.
I do love to hear percussion.
Yeah, it's good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to kind of start the news evening off with some bad news for anybody like us that are complete and total geeks and into the genre of movies like the movie Blade Runner, but a star that was, I guess, a big part of the 80s movie culture, nonetheless.
God, yeah.
Yeah, he was in a lot of stuff. But Blade Runner star Rutger Hauer, dead at 75. And I guess it's really interesting because today, this is the year that his character, Roy Batty, dies in the movie Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Is that poetic?
It is.
The Dutch actor died at his home in the Netherlands on Friday, July 19th, following a short illness. His funeral was held on Wednesday. It says, as reported by Variety, the news of Hauer's passing was confirmed by his agent, Steve Keynes. Anyway, tributes have poured in over social media, with many praising Hauer's unique and enigmatic acting style, which transcended any material he was given. That's true. And he's been in a lot of different movies other than Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Absolutely has been some very iconic films.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, he was either an athlete or maybe they'll tell us. He was born in Brooklyn, Netherlands on January 23rd, 1944. Hauer grew up in Amsterdam and went to work out at sea at the age of just 15. He later started at the Academy for Theater and Dance before being drafted into the Royal Netherlands Army, where he served as a combat medic.
It's a wide range right there.
Yeah, I mean,
from fisherman to dancer to combat medic is amazing.
I see how that all fits together, yeah. With a talent for playing dark and villainous characters, Hauer will perhaps best be remembered for his portrayal of iconic antagonist Roy Batty in Ridley Scott's sci-fi thriller Blade Runner from 1982. Yeah, I mean, but that, like I said, yeah, some fans have noted how the first Blade Runner was made in 82 based on the 1968 novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, was supposed to be set in the year 2019. That's what I was saying. It was really kind of strange, huh?
Yeah.
So, I guess it wasn't like he was going to be 75. What was he going to do? Reenact the roles, but
sure.
But he gave us a lot of really, really good, interesting characters and stuff throughout. Like I said, the 80s and 90s. He was big. It was a big deal.
Where do you first remember him at? What movie did you see?
Lady Hawk, I think.
That you remembered him.
Yeah.
In? Was that before Blade Runner? I think it was, but I can't remember.
Timeline-wise, I think it was. Yeah, or it was right. It was right around in that same 80s or early 80s movie scene because it was on the HBO when HBO first got to be big.
Yeah,
and that's where I saw it at.
My first encounter with him was in a movie that I think was called Deadlock. It's about prisoners that escaped from this prison, and they were done up in pairs with these collars.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't be separated, or the collars would explode.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. That's the first time I really enjoyed watching his acting and how things were done and stuff like that. And then I became a bit of a fan watching him on things like that. And also a movie called Flesh and Blood that was set in a medieval period was really interesting too. Yeah.
He was in a lot of those movies. And the other thing I remember about those movies, a lot of them were very raw in the sense that they used gratuitous amounts of sex and nudity to drive the storylines, and he was in a lot of those.
Maybe
as
so.
well. Yeah, there was a whole genre of 80s fantasy movies, remember? Beastmaster, all these different kind of things.
Sword and the Sorcerer.
Yeah, and when you watched them, they were basically B-rated porns, low grade porns in a lot of ways.
I was probably at the age I was really into D&D, so I was probably really into the fantasy aspect of it.
You would be.
Yes, I was way too nerdy at that point to appreciate anything else.
Yeah, but this is kind of the end of an era, man. This is happening now a lot, right? We're seeing a lot of these iconic people in these iconic movie roles and stuff are starting to kind of disappear.
Yes, and someday you'll be listening to this and we'll be dead.
Yeah, they'll just recreate us with AI, though. That's what they'll do.
Maybe. I don't know. They might also do improvements.
They might be able to recreate me because I'm predictable. I don't know if they'll ever be able to recreate you, dude.
I don't know about that.
You're a little different. And I dig that shit about you, man. That's why I got you here. But yeah, you're a little different. No one has ever accused Eric Smith of being normal. Thank God.
That's a pretty normal name.
Yeah. The name is about it.
Because the middle name's Daniel. I could go by Dan Smith, I suppose. That's not much of an improvement.
My God. Yeah, at least Eric has some semblance of sort of Northern European exoticness of some sort. But Daniel Smith, Smith.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. I can blend in.
What does Dan Smith do for a living?
Dan Smith, he is an assistant to a basketball coach.
At a high school somewhere or something?
No, a pretty professional basketball coach. But he's in the assistant. He arranges meetings and logistics,
like a personal assistant.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
but on the payroll of the team.
Wife, kids. Dan Smith is he that?
Oh
kind
no,
wife and kids for Dan Smith.
No, he's got bad vision.
He can't see.
Yeah, that's why he's not a coach.
Oh,
he can't see the stuff out on the field and direct it. So
on the field, the basketball field,
he doesn't know where he's at half the time.
The basketball field,
probably.
Not the court.
Hey, I'm just making this up.
Is he the basketball coach or is he the football or baseball coach?
He's not sure.
He's poor Dan.
Yeah,
Dan's not doing well. Yeah, poor Dan's not doing well.
He's not. That's why I'm staying with Eric. I had a clever biology teacher in like 10th grade, I think.
Okay.
That started calling me generic.
Like as a play on Eric, Eric.
Generic, yeah. And as a play on the name being a common name. It was probably the best thing that I'd ever heard. I thought it was great, actually. I'm like, that's pretty clever,
Yeah.
But he was actually a really smart dude that was probably not really happy with where he was at. I mean, he wasn't mean or nasty or nothing. He was really nice.
Right.
But I think he was bored, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, mine was easy. It's Maddie. And what does Maddie rhyme with? Fatty. So that was an easy one. And then, but fatty, as you get into high school, has a whole different connotation. So,
and things turned around for me in high school,
especially when you're not fat anymore. There's like a whole other crowd you're sort of hanging out with now, right? Kind of thing. I got a Florida man article.
Oh, good Lord!
It's a good one, man. Florida man arrested after having 3 beers and pissing on a cop car.
I bet it had less to do with the 3 beers than the pissing.
I guarantee it had everything to do with pissing on the cop car. 30-year-old William Leo Vasquez reportedly relieved himself against the passenger side of the police vehicle, which had been parked within a gated police department parking lot. So he went to the cop shop and pissed on a car.
Grievances were having to be paid at this point.
He was reportedly arrested on Thursday, July 18th by officers from the Fort Pierce Police Department. By the way, this comes from, I probably should say this, Unilad, which the previous article also came from. According to the arrest affidavit obtained by Local 10, Leo Vasquez informed officers he had been on his way home after work when, after enjoying 3 beers, he realized he needed to use the bathroom. It's unclear exactly why Leo Vasquez chose to use a police car as a loo. They actually put loo in the article.
I wonder if he skipped there.
Skip to my loo. As opposed to, say, a public bathroom. That's a good question.
As opposed to anything else.
I feel, Eric, Dan,
Joel Smith.
That there is some animosity here somehow.
I agree that grievances were needing to be repaid, and that's what he was there for, is get those grievances paid back by peeing in their car.
I mean, the pathetic part of this is he's going to be incarcerated at public expense, great public expense, for what amounts to the cost of a car wash.
Well, to me, the irony is he made large headlines in what passes for a paper today by doing it.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
But
it's
clear.
Ironic because
I'm all about the fucking clickbait headlines, man. The point is to do them and then either make fun of them or learn something, right? So,
and in this case, we're going to choose make fun of it.
We're going to choose the make fun of them path. Yeah. He says Vasquez is said to have rode his bike into the gated police station parking lot and urinated on the police car. He was then booked into jail before being released the following day on bond.
Well, it was gated. How did he get in? Did he climb the gate or something?
Apparently using a cop car. Yeah, that doesn't say that. Yeah, he's on a bike. Maybe did he like ET over the freaking fence?
Yeah, maybe.
How gated is this community?
It's not real secure sounding.
Jesus.
What do you mean someone beat in my cop car? Yeah, he's still out there too.
There's footage. As reported by NBC New York, you were talking about headlines, so there you go. A young man was arrested in May after footage emerged of him weeing on a police SUV in Newark. After the footage went viral, officers got wise to his actions, and 22-year-old Takir Boyd was taken into custody before being charged with lewdness, criminal mischief, and disorderly conduct.
I'm sure they would have charged them with more if they could have.
Eric Smith, this is a nationwide epidemic, my friend.
Florida.
No, that one happened in Newark, New Jersey. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Quote, we will absolutely not tolerate this disrespect of our police. We take this as a personal insult. And when our department became aware of this, we moved quickly to apprehend the suspect. Look, if you're taking this as, I mean, I get that it was probably intended as a personal insult.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys. I've had enough of your shit. I've had enough of my ex-wife's shit. I've had enough of the fucking world's shit.
He had 3 beers, right?
And I'm going to piss on a police car. Well, the first dude did, yeah. This other dude from Newark, I have no clue, but yeah.
That's not many beers.
That's not much.
No,
That's why I'm feeling that there's some animosity here, man.
Yeah. I can't say I would be drunk on 3 beers.
Maybe he was like, man, if I didn't have to pay this fucking parking ticket, I would be able to have 8 beers or something, you know?
Who knows?
So he was like, after he came up short on his buzz, he went over and pissed on a police car. There's a story here, Mr. Smith. These are important things to understand in the public zeitgeist. Why? How do you get to here? Right?
Psychologists take note and study this phenomenon.
We got to know. It's an epidemic. It's making headlines. People weeing on police cars. Apparently it happens overseas too, because here's in the UK it's happened. So I'm telling you, man, apparently worldwide epidemic of people whizzing on police cruisers.
See, they're going to have a urine force.
DNA analysis.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. I'm sure all their other cop buddies will call it that.
There are a lot of people who would be upset for us making fun of this situation. You understand that, right? But at the end of the day, it's still just a car wash, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be okay.
Because if a dog pissed on the car, you'd hose it off, you know,
yeah.
And you might write the owner a ticket. I don't know about throwing someone in jail for $30,000 a year at taxpayer expense because they're a dipshit.
Well, I agree it's disrespectful, but
Totally,
I also
yeah.
agree it's funny.
Yeah, but super funny. No Shitcast does not encourage these kinds of activities, ladies and gentlemen. We only because if you do it, we're going to make fun of you too.
Yeah,
but please don't do it.
Yeah, we don't encourage. any of that kind of fun.
We have to have a disclaimer. We really don't, but I just think it's funny to put one in there anyway. So this is kind of a cool one. You know who this dude is?
John McAfee's manager threatens to release secret data payload.
So John McAfee is a guy that started McAfee Antivirus.
Oh, okay.
So, but he's also this super fucking eccentric kind of and I'm going to say it, weirdo.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and understand that when I say weirdo, that there's admiration in that too. Okay, but
that's what you said earlier.
But this fucker's different. Okay,
Yeah.
Kind of like you. See, I like the weirdos. Anyway,
here's this weirdo.
So he's also a presidential candidate, which is kind of strange.
Well, there's a whole lot of those today.
He's super, super wealthy because he owns McAfee antivirus, right?
Right.
And then he gets into like conspiracy theories big time.
Is he going to be out of the Area 51 on September 20th?
I don't know, but apparently he's disappeared.
So
Hey, America, the man who wants to be your next president is missing. This article comes from Futurism. And there will be holy hell to pay if he doesn't turn up soon. Okay, now check this out. Now remember, this is the guy that started McAfee antivirus.
Okay.
This is the guy that understands all of the loopholes and back holes and back holes. That sounds pornographic. Like back doorways.
Well, he understands
not
them,
the back
though.
doors any better. Ways into like networks and all of these kind of things. So understand who this guy and his company is, right? And his software runs, clients and stuff run on computers all over the world.
Right, yeah.
All right. So, so that's the gist of a series of recent tweets sent from the Twitter account of eccentric tech millionaire turned 2020 presidential candidate John McAfee, who's been running his campaign in exile.
Okay.
Right? Since January to avoid charges of tax fraud in the United States. On Tuesday, McAfee's campaign manager, Rob Benedicto Pacifico, Juan Marie, I'm not done, Logia Ramirez, sent several tweets from his boss's account claiming he now has, quote, good reason to suspect that McAfee has been detained. And according to Logia Ramirez, McAfee's continued MIA status could be very bad for, well, someone. Quote, if John misses his next check-in, events will be set into motion that I cannot prevent once they have begun, he tweeted. John has secreted data with individuals across the world. I know neither their identities or locations. They will release their payloads if John goes missing, end quote.
He just manifested deism, didn't he?
Tell me about it.
Like
what do you mean?
Deism, where it's the religious idea that God set everything in motion and then split. So he doesn't really answer prayers and he's not there, but there was a God and he created everything. He just set it in motion and split. That's kind of like how deism is. It's kind of like that, right? Like he set all this stuff up.
Absentee
and now he's
deities
gone. Yeah.
and missing
yeah,
tech
and you
billionaires.
can't stop it. It's just going to play out the way it's going to play out. And there nobody can come in and stop it and change it because they're missing.
It's kind of an interesting thing with this guy because this dude is eccentric as fuck, right? And I'm not past the point of saying that this is all being done as some sort of publicity stunt. I could be wrong, but like I said, there's a real, like if you really start digging under the hood of this cat and some of the shit he's into and things he says and things he's been involved in, it's like, what is going on with this guy?
We got to up our game.
We're totally not playboy enough to be hanging with these guys.
We need to come up with some stunts or something.
Like what was that show called? Jackass kind of stuff?
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know.
You laugh, but a lot of people do well on YouTube and shit with fail videos, inadvertently a lot of times, but nonetheless. Logia Ramirez didn't elaborate on when the next check-in is supposed to happen, whose data this is, or what sort of repercussions might follow its release. However, he did take the time to make sure one thing is crystal clear, quote, this is not a publicity stunt. Well, that answers my question. He says it's not one, Eric, so that means it's not a publicity stunt.
Yep, we've read the biography, and he said that he did not do it.
So I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. So, John McAfee, where are you? What is going on? What is this data trove? And if this is information of impropriety, why hasn't it already been turned over to the authorities?
Oh, yeah. That makes him
culpable?
Yes.
That's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing. It's like, are you using this data as a means for extortion or blackmail? Because isn't that illegal too?
Probably.
I'm just totally armchair fucking lawyering it over here, bro. I'm not sure, but there just seems to be a lot of weird stuff going on with this. And like I said, he's a very eccentric individual, interesting individual. I don't know. He could be completely innocent. This could all be true. I don't fucking know. You know, I don't. Maybe the state is trying to destroy him for some reason, and maybe that's the only thing that's keeping him alive is this information. It's not like Edward Snowden and some of these. We treat whistleblowers and stuff so fantastically, right?
Yeah. I guess what you're saying. Yeah.
The best.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. This comes from Newsweek. Ancient tree with record of Earth's magnetic field reversal in its rings discovered. This is a big deal with the electric universe stuff, too, I'm imagining.
Probably.
Right? An ancient tree that contains a record of reversal of Earth's magnetic field has been discovered in New Zealand. The tree, an Agathis australis. Boy, look at me just whipping that science shit out there, Eric.
Nomenclature.
Better known as and here's where I fail, Maori name curry. No, not the stuff in Indian food. I'm murdering this, okay? Curry was found in some place in New Zealand's North Island during excavation work for the expansion of a geothermal power plant, Stuff.NZ reports. The tree, which had been buried in 26 feet of soil, measures 8 feet in diameter and 65 feet in length. That's a big-ass fucking tree, dude.
That's a tree.
That's a fucking tree. Carbon dating revealed it lived for 1,500 years between 4,100 and 42,500 years ago. Quote, there's nothing like this anywhere in the world, Alan Hogg from New Zealand's University of Waikato told the website. This tree I can't pronounce is unique. You like how I did that?
I did.
I was all proud of myself.
I'm really glad
man.
that you have to read this and not me.
This is what I do. This is what I put myself through for people to know shit, Eric. This is what I do.
It's important.
It's a sacrifice, man. I have to sacrifice my dignity to do this stuff. Now I'm just reaching, So we already said that. The lifespan of this tree covers a point in Earth's history when the magnetic field almost reversed. At this time, the magnetic north and south went on an excursion, but did not quite complete a full reversal. I don't like the idea of magnetic poles having excursions. Doesn't that sound like that would be bad?
Well, they move around pretty constantly. I think the excursions are the occasions when they deviate from their average, which they do occasionally.
Well, wouldn't it have like catastrophic type events if the poles move to what is now the equator? Like with the way that it blocks the cosmic rays and all that kind of shit, wouldn't there be like implications for that?
I don't think it could move there and stay. It would flip if it went too far. But it only moves. It's not a lot of movement, but just more than the averages are that it does deviate from sometimes. But it's not even out of the Arctic, I don't believe. But when it gets all the way down to the equator, it's probably just going to flip.
Okay. Earth's magnetic field is thought to be generated by the iron in the planet's core. As it moves around, it produces electric currents that extend far into space. The magnetic field acts as a barrier protecting Earth from the solar wind. This is a stream of charged particles from the sun that could strip away the ozone layer if it were to impact the atmosphere. See, this is the kind of shit that scares the crap out of me. But you're saying it's not likely to... Like, I would think that if it moved to someplace and stayed there where it hasn't been, because if it flips, it just flipped. But if it flipped, like north went to south and south went to north, it would still be protecting us.
Yeah.
But if it went like someplace weird, like the Bahamas,
that would be bad, and it stayed there. Yeah, that would be bad.
Okay, so I'm not. I was imagining,
but I don't think it will because it's like they're saying it's based on the spin of the Earth and the core, and that creates angular momentum, which keeps things spinning without little precession. So it's really that precession that causes that magnetic field to wobble more than likely. I don't know what would cause it to flip, but I know that's probably what would be making it wobble.
Now, I've read a lot of articles about this before, and this article is the first one I've ever actually seen make this claim, because it says when the magnetic field reverses or attempts to, it gets weaker, leading to more radiation from the sun getting through. Previously, scientists have linked extinction events to magnetic field reversals.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the North Pole is weakening and it's getting ready to move, then more cosmic energy is hitting this planet, which would also make it hotter, wouldn't it?
I don't think it would make it hotter.
I don't know. See, now here's where I should probably not even speculate about
particles,
this.
So you would see the aurora borealis coming down a lot further. than it normally would.
If the poles were weakening.
Yeah.
Okay,
if they
that
were
makes
weakening. And of course, when the ozone layer is destroyed, then more ultraviolet rays get through.
Right.
And that can increase cancer, and it can kill plants and things like that because it's high energy frequency of light, which is why it hurts your cells and stuff. It makes them reproduce badly. But
oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, that would be bad. But I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing. You just need sunscreen, be careful when you're outside. Yeah. And then also those charged particles would I think mess with electronic equipment.
Yeah. We also know that cosmic rays cause atoms to decay faster too, right? So there's fundamental issues with that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, but
like atomic clocks. I wonder if it would have probably not.
It'd be a small apocalypse.
Be shielded.
It would be not necessarily too awfully different to a large solar flare or a coronal mass ejection. It wouldn't kill everybody, but it would probably cause so much problems a lot of people would die. You
know why I keep putting these kinds of articles on the show? Because of how fun you find them and how delighted you are at the thought of things like, it would just be a small mass extinction.
Yeah, it's not going to be terrible. Just a small.
Apocalypse.
I mean, we came back from 6, right? I mean, we've already went through 6. Let's do another
6 mass extinctions.
However many that they were saying. I think there's been 6, right? 6
reversals. Yes.
No,
yeah.
6 mass extinctions of any kind. I think there's been 6 really big ones.
Yeah,
there's the Permian extinction, and then there was the extinction for the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. I think the Permian extinction was the biggest one, and there were some others too. And I think the Permian extinction was because of volcanic activity, tectonic plate movement, and that sort of thing. But so I mean, a lot of those extinction events had really giant traumatic events going on with them. But
it says the newly discovered, because I got something I want to follow up with you on this. Okay, the newly discovered tree's rings contain a complete record of a near reversal, the first time a tree that lived during the entire event has ever been found.
That tree lived through it.
That's a big ass tree. It's time. It's the time it takes for this movement to occur that is critical. Is the critical thing. We will map these changes much more accurately using the tree's rings.
Yeah, so they're saying it's that flip in between part that's a little iffy and dangerous when it weakens before it flips. They're hoping that that's not years.
It's interesting because we've done a lot of shows about things like artificial intelligence and how it's being used to find new super materials, and it's going back through data sets that research and finding all kinds of new angles on everything from pharmaceuticals, man, to, I mean, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this today, and it kind of ties into this, is these kinds of things are those things that show up on these weird lists of people who have problems with how much money that governments and shit spend on research. You hear all the time about why are we spending money studying the mating habits of whatever,
the mating habits
the barn
of sex
swallow.
Robots.
And so there's a piece with this kind of fits in that. It's okay, you dug up this big ass tree and it has rings. Who gives a shit for something to happen?
This seems to be much more substantial in what you're learning and more applicable to the future.
Here's the problem with that kind of mentality altogether anyway. Right? Because they can say, we already have records. Why are we looking at this one? Well, the problem isn't that we don't already know how barn swallows have sex and whatever. We get that. But we only ever know anything through the eyes of the best instruments we have available right now. And what we don't want to do is, because this data that's collected, we think that it's useless. But it's not necessarily useless for AI to look at.
Yeah.
So you might think you're pulling these weird mundane data sets and tracking information that you might not even see any kind of correlation to. It doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. And in this weird sort of gold mine of data mining now, all of that stuff that we used to shit all over going, well, that's just a waste of money. There's actually gold in understanding these things because it has implications on fertility, birth control, all of these other things. And these AI can find these correlations and come up with better medications, can come up. So it's weird. It's there's nothing actually, we should always be looking at whatever it is always and recording it and recategorizing things under the best instruments we have available, because the instruments always get better and they tell us more.
Look at it as fine-tuning. Look at it as, it's not like you're trying to discover anything. Maybe you do know everything, but you could probably fine-tune it, make it better, make it more logistically possible to happen so that more people can take advantage of it or whatever. It's still good.
Yeah, that's that was my plea in all of this. Is I used to be in that camp that was like, well, once we understand something, why do we keep spending money on it? And I never understood that. But once you start, like, instrumentation is a big part of what I do, and I see the instrument technology improve, thereby making our capabilities improve dramatically, constantly.
Yeah.
What wasn't available to the general public, say even 10 years ago, is or in kits that people could, it's like crazy.
Just take your phone, for example. What if you never said that you wanted to improve the phone?
No, that's a valid point. And unfortunately, nothing improves things faster than capitalism that we know of. Ugh. And I admit that, I admit that that's the thing. It's just the way it is. Samples of the tree are now being analyzed by scientists led by Chris Turney from the University of New South Wales, an expert in paleoclimatology. Hey, I nailed that. And climate change.
Weather that's real out of date.
Don't hate on me, Eric.
No, I just thought it was funny the way.
Yeah, no shit. Understanding what happened to the tree during that event could provide an insight into what we should expect the next time it happens. Yes. So that's why you do it.
Yeah.
We will have increased cosmic radiation. It will take out satellites, and it might take out other communication infrastructure, Hogg said. Damn, man.
See, that's all that shit I said.
That's all.
It's probably going to affect electronic things. Probably going to hurt satellites. It's probably going to fuck with your cancer. You're going to have a lot more melanoma going on.
Full disclosure, you never see these articles until you get here, right? Okay.
And I'll probably say shit that's wrong, or did I...
Dude, live without a net, bro. Live without a net. That's why we do this. It's unscripted.
Just from memory, I'm like, oh no, I'm pretty sure that's going to fuck a little bit of stuff.
Yeah, when we make mistakes on here, we have to admit them really quick. Attorney told Newsweek the precious thing is this huge lonely tree grew from some 1,700 years across a remarkable period in our planet's history, when the Earth's magnetic field flipped some 42,000 years ago, a period known as the Last Champ excursion. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Funded by the Australian Research Council, we're undertaking detailed measurements of the radioactive form of carbon through the tree rings. That's carbon dating, right?
Yeah. Here's the goal, right? Not to be right, but to get facts close enough to being right that it piques somebody's interest to go and find out the precise facts.
Yeah, it's about being correct with the best information you have available currently.
Yeah, in a typical conversation when you would be talking about something, as opposed to just not knowing anything and talking about something, right? Like, at least something relatively correct and enough that it can point someone in a direction.
Well, the one thing people are never going to get from us on here is some sort of bombastic critique show. That's not the point, right? It's about actually kind of fucking learning stuff.
Right.
It's just fun. Yeah. I don't know, man. I've been doing this, and it's something I've always done, and it's kind of fun because we always end up talking about this. We have these great conversations.
That's the other important thing I think is, like,
awesome.
The idea that you would say, hey, that tree survived this too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a little apocalypse. It's not unsurvivable. It's just likely to change life as you know it. And as philosophically speaking, a utilitarian viewpoint, that makes those kind of people probably happy about that.
Well, and so this says that because the Earth's magnetic field has a major effect on how much radiocarbon is formed in the upper atmosphere, these precious analyses will allow us to investigate the magnitude and rate of change when the magnetic field reversed during the last champ. Something not possible before and of great interest given recent changes in the Earth's magnetic field. So it gives us another metric with which to measure.
Yes, right? They can measure the carbon in the ancient atmosphere because they can see how much this tree sucked in, and they can definitively say this is how much carbon was in the atmosphere. And once they have that number, they can project that the reason why there was that much had to do with this, that, or the other thing, and
this is why we dig. This is why we study shit still today that we're just now digging up out of the ground, or that we're just now researching, because there's invaluable information in here.
Yeah, it's amazing it can be recorded in a tree that's ancient.
Yeah.
That you can look at that and get anything out of it.
I think that we catalog everything now, especially with the power of AI, with its ability to find things. The betterment of humanity, almost kind of the next advance in humanity is this. We're witnessing it right now. This is the semiconductor revolution. You know what I mean? Like it's big like that.
Yeah.
I think it's what we're seeing.
Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to have got the chance because of that. What's that scale? Everything doubles in speed. And
Moore's law.
Because of that, we're getting the chance to see probably not only 2, but maybe even 3 of these type of transitions that we're seeing right now. Major, like earth-shattering type paradigm-shifting transitions.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just being optimistic.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
That's if we don't all fucking kill each other first, right? That's the other dynamic.
Yeah,
here.
there's
Why
all
does I keep doing that?
sorts of things that can happen.
Well, speaking of things that can happen,
a rock could fall out of the sky and kill everyone.
This comes from Popular Science in their health section. Americans reported hearing torturous sounds in Cuba, and now their brains seem changed. This is some fucking X-Files level stuff here, bro.
This is like that Havana
syndrome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where people are hit with acoustic waves like attacks. I think they're attacks from other governments. Subacoustic waves.
Yeah, it's like some sort of spy versus spy kind of shit.
Yeah. It's weird.
Beginning in late 2016, government officials from the United States and Canada stationed in Cuba started reporting clusters of symptoms that seemed a bit like a concussion, a sudden onset of headaches, dizziness, and confusion after hearing a high-pitched noise. The illness soon became referred to as Havana syndrome, and the cause has been subject to intense debate. Some experts have suggested that the condition is purely psychological, but a new study which found that those affected have differences in their brain compared to healthy people pushes back on that skepticism.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's kind of creepy, bro. The research builds on a previous study from the same research team outlining the neurological problems experienced by people who lived in Cuba and who reported symptoms. Quote, "This is the imaging findings that underlie those clinical symptoms," says study author Regina Verma, a professor of radiology and a brain imaging specialist at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. The new study published in the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, used brain scans to look at 3 different aspects of brain function in 40 people who were clinically evaluated after reported exposure to the as yet undetermined phenomenon. It looked at the overall volume of various regions in their brains, at the fine structure of brain tissue in the cerebellum, which regulates the movement and controls balance, and at the connectivity of brain networks involved in hearing, vision, and high-level cognitive skills like memory. It's like that fucking stick from Men in Black.
Yeah.
They flash you, man, and poof, it like scrambles your brain or some weird... The authors selected those brain regions and networks based on the observed clinical symptoms, Verma says. It seemed like there would be something wrong in there in the cerebellum, and that helped form our hypothesis. Patients in the study also reported visual, auditory, and memory problems. This is, like I said, man, this is like some creepy stuff. Like real conspiracy theory, spy versus spy type shit.
Yeah, not outside the realm of science.
What's in Popular Science, so you know it's legit. Yeah, well, we know that there's like these weird, what they call them, crowd control devices now that makes your skin feel like it's on fire, but it doesn't actually burn. Yeah, uses some specific frequency of microwave, and it's directional.
Yeah.
So it's not like we don't think that this kind of stuff exists. And I love how they say, this is non-lethal. It's like, yeah, bitch, but an awful lot of people die from non-lethal weapons. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it happens. This one comes from KTTV 11 News, your breaking news leader. I have no idea what town this is in, but I guess we'll find out. Graphic, FBI found bucket of heads, arms and legs, bodies sewn together at Arizona. It's in Arizona. Arizona body donation facility, agent says.
Well,
There's a story here.
Yeah, something's going. Yeah. Yes.
From Phoenix, gruesome details have been released in a lawsuit against a body donation and tissue bank facility in Phoenix, Arizona. The FBI raided the Biological Resource Center, or BRC, as part of a human body parts trafficking investigation in 2014. Ew. Agents found buckets full of body parts and different people sewn together and hung up on a wall, according to testimony by one of the agents.
Egads.
This is like for real Texas Chainsaw Massacre type shit.
That's crazy.
And it's in Arizona. Something about the desert, man.
When it's hot, where it's hot, people are not happy.
Right. Where it's really cold, people aren't happy either, but they stay inside and shiver. They don't fucking...
Right. They got no time for fighting. Jeez.
It's too fucking cold out there. I'll fall down and then my gloves will get wet.
Can't fight in the park.
Quote, this is a horror story, you think. It's just unbelievable. The story is unbelievable, said Troy Harp, who donated the bodies of his mother and grandmother to the facility in 2012 and 2013. Harp, one of more than 30 plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the BRC, donated the bodies with the understanding that they would be used for scientific purposes.
Holy shit, there's 30 people out there that heard this story and they're mad, and rightfully so. And that's got to be
30
bizarre.
people so far. That's the other thing here, right?
Yeah.
This is the first 30 plaintiffs.
Wow.
And that it's gone that far already. Quote, cancer and leukemia and whatever else using sample cells. That's what I was told, he said, but that's not what happened. In 2014, the FBI raided the facility in hazmat suits as part of a multi-state investigation into the illegal trafficking and sale of human body parts.
And what's that's for? Who needs an arm or a leg in Nebraska?
From a corpse.
Yeah. Like, what do they get like an order from Nebraska? Look, we need an arm. Why?
I mean, how do you pack that up? You just wrap it up in plastic and throw it in some dry ice?
I don't know, but who's ordering it?
Okay, that's a whole nother, right.
Where's the market?
I can't even get past how do you ship it. I don't. The fact that weirdos are ordering this stuff.
And what's it for?
Right.
Halloween dinner? What?
It's, yeah. Ugh. For the first time, we're now able to see the testimony from one of the FBI agents who conducted the raid. The agent said he found a, quote, cooler filled with male genitalia, a bucket of heads, arms, and legs, infected heads, and a small woman's head sewn onto a large male torso, like Frankenstein, hanging up on the wall, which is called a morbid joke in the lawsuit.
So now this is probably stuff that people probably were wanting. Like they want these various parts, so they've got them separated and ready to go when someone orders it. And they've got them by the bucketful, so that must imply that a lot of people buy this.
Buy a corpse, some assembly required, Like, ugh. Quote, who in their right mind, Harp said, it's absolutely gross. The lawsuit says the bodies were cut up with chainsaws and bandsaws. Quote, tools that are not appropriate for dismembering scientific bodies, Harp said. The lawsuit also says pools of human blood and bodily fluids were found on the floor of the freezer, and that there were bodies with no identification tags. Oh, that gets interesting, doesn't it? Harp said his mother's ashes showed up by mail on his doorstep shortly after the raid, but he isn't even sure that they're her ashes. Well, they're mostly if it's done right, it's mostly yours, and then a little bit of the last person, and a little less of the person before that. He said his mother and grandmother wanted to help. What's wrong with us that we're joking about that? Wanted to help medical research after their deaths, yet he doesn't believe they ever made it out of the BRC building. When asked if he feels like he's ever gotten closure, Harp said, no, this is open, and I don't think I ever will.
Right. Like,
BRC owner Stephen Gore was sentenced to 1 year of deferred jail time and 4 years of probation.
No pun intended there.
After he pleaded guilty to illegal control of an enterprise. That's a whole different thing than cutting up dead people, Frankenstein, like for morbid.
I don't know, man.
Purposes.
These are the bigger implication that he was running a ring of people that sold body parts to other people.
That there's actually a market for this kind of shit.
Yeah, and that he was running one end of it. Like I'm a bit more curious as to the other end, the people receiving it and what it's for. But the fact that this even exists as a structure, it has a lot of implications.
That's the part that bothers me, man.
Right.
Is I don't even want to think past.
Imagine the people that want body parts but can't afford them. I mean, that's what my point is that there's probably more than even is implied by the amount and supply that was there.
Yeah,
or the
it goes a lot deeper, right?
Yeah.
There's possible clients that just can't come up with the cash, right? I don't know. When you got coolers of body parts laying around, you think maybe you'd have a clearance sale or something, right? Like hey, it's tax-free day. Let's clear out the male genitalia. What the hell is this, Mr. Smith?
I don't know, man. I don't know what you would need it for. I can't imagine. I know that there's supposed to be an underground movement of cannibalism.
Oh, you're going there.
I've heard that.
Oh, I shouldn't ask the question.
Okay,
go ahead.
No, that's all I know. I've heard that people have been arrested for legitimately asking about or that, and that people like they've also asked for like volunteers and stuff, and people have volunteered to do it for other people. It's really strange. So I'm hoping that it's not that, because that would be weird that there was that many people doing
get there,
it.
Man, I got a morbid sense of humor, or I got a morbid sense of curiosity for sure.
Well, I mean, if it's not that, what is it, like ritual sacrifice or something?
I don't. Or it's okay.
Halloween. So
let's just say this: which percentage of it is for really weird, kinky sex of his business? You know what I mean?
See, that's where I don't even want to go.
You know, well, that's the problem. I don't want to go down any of these roads.
I know, it's all dark.
It's all so
What's the next
weird
article?
And dark. Should we say the rosary before we move on here?
It's not going to help these poor bastards.
This comes from Futurism, Mind-Bending, Quantum Darwinism theory passes experimental tests. All these studies see what is expected, at least approximately. So they're saying right here, right in the front, it could be right.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we're thinking is going to happen. So.
When it comes to our physical world, scientific research indicates that size really does matter. I guess there's a fucking sexual pun in there. While big objects, anything from a grain of sand to a galaxy, abide by one set of rules, classical physics, tiny objects such as atoms and particles abide by an entirely different set, a discovery that gave birth to quantum physics around 1900. Any problems with this yet, Eric?
No.
My physics expert history major. Scientists have been on the hunt for a way to reconcile these two disparate physics for decades, and now a theory first proposed by Polish theoretical physicist, some guy with the last name Zurich, in 2003 is starting to gain traction as a potential source for enlightenment.
And this would be a grand unified field theory.
Well, they call this part of it quantum Darwinism. That's what kind of piqued my interest, because I'm like, huh? One of the stranger aspects of the quantum world is superposition.
Yay.
Hey, we're going to get into the weeds here, baby. The ability of a quantum system to exist in more than one state at one time. Huh?
You know, like when your wife is mad, but she's not mad at you.
When she's mad, but also still loves you?
Yeah, or just not mad at you.
See, I can totally relate to that.
Honey, are you mad? No. You sure? No. Yeah, no, I'm not mad.
I'm in super pissed. That's called super pissed. That's not superposition. I'm not mad. I'm super pissed. The system seemingly only snaps into one state or the other, moving from the quantum world to the classical the moment we observe it. Right?
Bang.
That process is called decoherence, and quantum Darwinism is an attempt to explain that. Rather than our observation being the thing that forces the quantum system into one state or another, quantum Darwinism suggests that it's the system's interactions with the environment causing decoherence. That, proponents say, would explain why we don't see macro objects in the quantum state. That is to say, super small shit doesn't obey the traditional laws of physics, right? So that's why we don't see it in the small objects. They're always subjected to environmental factors. Make sense yet?
I'm listening.
Me too. As for how the environment has this effect, according to Zurich's theory, quantum systems have, quote, pointer states. These are specific measurable characteristics such as a particle's location or speed. When a particle interacts with its environment, all the superpositions of those characteristics alternate locations or speeds, decoherence. leaving just the pointer state, which many people can observe because it imprints replicas of itself on the environment.
Interesting.
Okay. Like here's at the point where I'm going, this sounds really technical, but I don't really get what they're saying. And I have to call Gareth. Go, fucking what? Or Sherfu or Neil or one of them, right? That's where the idea of Darwinism comes into play. Only the fittest state, the one best suited for its particular environment, survives the process of decoherence.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for, was that there.
Okay, does that help you make it make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, I understood the top parts, but I was trying to figure out where they were going with that. That's not that different than...
So go ahead and restate this for me in something that will make sense to me, because I still don't quite get what they're talking about.
It's the same principle as the orchestrated reduction.
Okay, wave function stuff?
Yeah, like the Roger Penrose has the theory that there can only be so many superpositions that could exist in space-time before they are reduced to one. And
right. Orchestrated objective reduction. Because you can only have 6 instances of superposition. So as to say 6 instances of reality, but they reduce to one.
Yeah,
they
because
like fall into one.
Because of the fine structure of space-time. That it kind of disproves the multiverse theory that there's not a lot of universes because they never really butt off. They collapse down into something that we can interact with in reality. And of course, in OrcoR, Stuart Hammerhoff has implied that the brain's interaction with the quantum realm helps orchestrate that objective reduction. The objective reduction will occur anyway, but he's saying that the brain has a bit of influence on how that objective reduction reduces, and that it does so in an orchestrated manner.
So this is kind of a big deal then, that what they're kind of, well, okay, it's a theory, and they're proposing that this is what's actually happening kind of thing. So it's a better understanding of what we already observe is all they're proposing here.
Well, so far
it should be predictable though.
I'm interested to see how that unifies those two worlds, how they're going to state that.
It says, quote, the main idea of quantum Darwinism is that we almost never do any direct measurement of anything, Zurich told the Foundational Questions Institute in 2008. Quote, the environment is like a big advertising billboard which floats multiple copies of the information about our universe all over the place. According to a new Quantum magazine story, 3 distinct groups of researchers have conducted experiments to test out quantum Darwinism by looking for signs that a quantum system imprints replicas of itself on its environment, and so far, the theory appears to check out. So this was a theory by Hammerhoff. Is that his name?
Well, not this particular theory.
No. What I'm saying is, right, there's a weird sort of backdoor correlation to some of the research that was being done.
Hammerhoff and Penrose. I think there is, at least. That's how I see
the connections here now that you explain that to me that way.
The thing that I'm finding interesting here is that they had found proof that these things print these copies on reality, which it actually kind of explains superposition too.
As well, yeah, that's at 6 or whatever. However, well, maybe it'll tell us. It would be. I tell you what, I'll fall out of the chair if he says 6 or something here, and it like lines right up. All of these studies see what is expected, at least approximately. Zurich told Quanta, meaning we may already be on the road to reconciling the physics of the large with the physics of the very small.
Okay, so they don't do it. They don't actually tell you how that's going to lead
they're saying
to
this,
a grand unified
they're
field
trying,
theory.
Yeah, they don't have any proof.
No.
Yeah, but
it's interesting.
But it is a theory. It is a theory. They did say that. I said is a theory 5 times. It says in the headline, it's mind-bending quantum Darwinism theory passes experimental tests. Okay, that is misleading. It almost means it sounds like it passed the test, so now it's proven kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't see how they are linking that to a grand unified field theory, which would explain everything. It to me, what I find interesting about it is that what it seems to explain is superposition in a different way.
I agree with that. It does. I don't know how it. Maybe it's beyond my ignorance here for sure. Okay, but right, I don't think the research is necessarily fruitless. Right?
Yeah,
because superposition is one of the things. Like, why the fuck is this happening? You know,
oh, yeah,
if
I
they've
don't
got
think it's fruitless or anything.
Because
I find it really interesting. I want to read more about it.
I think that would be a huge breakthrough if you could just make where the parts of an atom are going to show up next and be able to predict it. And maybe they can. Maybe I'm just making that up too. But or explaining. Well, superposition would also explain quantum entanglement, right?
No, because
isn't being in superposition part? No. Quantum no, you're right. Yeah. See there again. That's why I don't.
Well, the classical view they were saying in the article is that dissidence is the environment's effect on that superposition.
Decoherence.
Yeah, which is
dissonance. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the environment. But what this theory kind of turns it around backwards and says that it's not that it's the quantum function itself that interacts with that's causing it to come out of superposition.
And this kind of collapses down to however many forms of reality.
Well, I'm not even
down
sure
to
if I
the
really
one.
understand why they say that, to be honest with you, honestly.
Well, they don't give any real, they don't really give us any, this is like Gareth was talking about magic, you know, it's like,
it could be.
Here's the results. Okay, well, how did you get there? And you start looking at it and going, what the fuck kind of shit are you guys smoking?
It certainly bears more scrutiny.
I think so, but interesting nonetheless. Clickbaity, but
I liked it.
But it was good, yeah.
It was good.
It was good.
Better than the body article.
Now, we talked about this. This is from Science Alert. You and I talked about this actually previously on the show, and about how they were genetically modifying insects like mosquitoes and stuff, and how it was having. Remember, I was like, man, and it's like having these huge effects and all this amazing shit's happening, but I didn't have anything to back it up. Well, here we go, Eric.
All right.
In just 2 years, scientists have effectively wiped out mosquitoes on 2 Chinese islands. In the space of just 2 years, scientists have virtually wiped out the world's most invasive mosquito from around 2 islands in the Chinese city of Gongzhou, and that's what we're going to call it. The mosquito species known as the Asian tiger is a carrier of dangerous infectious diseases, including Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. That must be an
bad.
Asian. That does. That sounds like eyeball boiling shit right there, which affect millions of people worldwide. The insect is also notoriously difficult to control. Over the past 4 decades alone, this wily bloodsucker has spread from its original home in Asia to every other continent on Earth, excluding Antarctica for, I guess, obvious reasons. It's hard to lay eggs in water that's frozen. With only limited vaccines and drug treatments for the diseases that it transmits, the mosquito's impact on public health has been disproportionate to its tiny size. An exciting field test of an innovative mosquito control technique shows we have the potential to change all of that. By combining 2 existing methods, scientists reduced Asian tiger mosquito populations by up to 94% on 2 river islands in China. In some cases, not a single viable egg was found for up to 13 weeks.
Wow, that must have been weird for the natives.
Now, remember I was saying, I don't know, it was like a lot, 94%.
Yeah,
could you imagine that?
That's pretty noticeable, yeah.
In the place that's probably just so infested, and you're like outside at night going, oh, okay, well, this isn't bad.
Right?
Like, dude, that's like a lifestyle changer if you were to live. Can you imagine doing that like down in Louisiana and Florida and stuff, right?
Shit.
An exciting field test of an innovative mosquito control technique read that in a recent review of the work, Peter Armbruster, a mosquito ecologist at Georgetown University, said that the results were, quote, remarkable, and they demonstrate that the, quote, potential of a potent new tool in the fight against mosquito-borne infectious diseases. Yeah, you think? That's huge. The 2-pronged approach includes a dose of radiation. That's how you make Spider-Man. Poof. Which sterilizes the mosquitoes, and a bacterial strain from the Wolbachia genus, which prevents the mosquito eggs from hatching. Together, when these 2 methods are applied to lab-grown mosquitoes, they appear to work much more effectively than on their own. Current radiation-based techniques work by releasing sterile male insects into the environment so that they breed with females who only mate once, decreasing the overall size of their population. The problem is, irradiation tends to make these males less competitive sexually and almost more likely to die. Yeah.
Just take all the fun out of
life. Man. Other methods that use the bacteria to reduce offspring are less harmful to the individual mosquito, but they only work if the lab-grown male is infected and not the wild female. If both the male and the female have the bacterial infection, they'll have no issue reproducing no issue producing healthy offspring, making it a delicate balancing act. As you can imagine, sifting through male and female insects in the lab is painstaking business. God, could you imagine having this job? Tweezers and a magnifying glass. Nope. Well, wait. Nope. And even when scientists go to all this effort, the accidental release of Wolbachia infected females happens about 0.3% of the time, undermining the entire mission. That's a bummer. The new solution, therefore, rears Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes in the lab and then subjects them to the low levels of radiation, effectively sterilizing any included females while leaving the males still able to reproduce. Not only does this sound great in theory, it also appears to work in practice. By getting rid of the need for sex testing, the team could produce and release large numbers of these lab-grown mosquitoes, around 200 million in total, in a city with the highest dengue transmission rates in China. After 2 years, their findings demonstrate a nearly 97% decline in mosquito bites suffered by the locals on the two islands. Boy, you want to talk about game-changing then? Yeah, you're right.
Man.
Plus, each year, the average number of wild-type adult females caught per trap dropped 83 to 94%, with none detected for up to 6 weeks. So, what are we up? This is this genetically modifying them? Not really, right? It's irradiating them and just making them sterile. So that's not likely to, we're not going to end up with, I don't know, someone's going to get bit by a mosquito and become Mosquito Man.
At this point, I'd still say do it.
Would you?
Yeah, man. Fucking, I hate mosquitoes.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm ready for that risk gain ratio there.
And maybe this is the whatever you call it, the Trojan horse, but that only implies sort of a negative connotation. But this is sort of the way that this kind of stuff finally gets accepted into the mainstream society. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because everybody hates mosquitoes. We can all agree that mosquitoes must die and go away, right? Yep. So if this is the way that that this kind of stuff gets introduced into society, is it makes this major pest go away.
Yeah, it's at least a good excuse. Like,
oh, what's next? Horseflies?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Whatever we
Black
don't
flies,
need.
midgies, these biting little flies that are up in New England that suck balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be a good thing. I know people worry about people that have the power or the authority to do stuff like that, but all of that aside, it would probably be a good thing. There's a lot of times we've messed up by bringing invasive species into areas that we shouldn't have, and it's a problem and an issue, and so we have to spend money like cutting back kudzu and stuff like that, in Alabama.
Yeah, it's bad, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it wouldn't hurt. We'd be able to rectify a few situations that would be obvious right up in the front that we caused.
Have you seen that? They're using goats as the methodology now. They just come and they just put in like a temporary electric fence, and they just turn a bunch of goats loose in there.
Send in the goats.
And they just eat it all, and then they just move the electric fence and just keep moving them.
Release the ones with the cloven hooves.
Shit works, man. It's a simple solution, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question. I don't remember what it was now. It's probably not important. It might come back. We'll see what happens. Now, this one, Eric, this one's for you. Oh, I got to zoom in here. I know. We're both getting old. You got better eyesight than I do, you fuck. It kills me. We talked about this, too. I know. That was a sigh. That was a sigh of, my head hurts, right?
No, I don't know. I'm glad that I have good eyesight.
This is from IFL Science. Flat Earthers are planning an Antarctic expedition to the edge of the world. You guys thought I was making it up. Here's the article. Get your fleece-lined tinfoil hats at the ready. A gang of prominent flat earthers are reportedly interested in going on an expedition to Antarctica, hoping to reveal the true nature of our planet once and for all. Here we go, man. All the cards are on the table this time, Eric. As reported by Forbes, prominent flat earthers are showing interest in a trek across, or at least towards, Antarctica. How they plan to go about this is not clear yet, but the pipe dream looks to address one of the great totems of the flat earth theory. What's the deal with the South Pole?
It's like, to them, it's still a mystery.
Right?
I'm just saying. What the hell is that?
we're having this discussion, my friend. Quote, all we have to do to shut this debate down once and for all is get the distance off the coast of get his. Let me go. I got to back this up because I'm having a hard time even getting my head around this. Quote, all we have to do to shut this debate down once and for all is get the distance of the coast of Antarctica. Jay DeCasby, a prominent flat earther, told Forbes. Quote, if we can get to the coast of Antarctica and sail all the way around it, we will get the distance that will prove it's the outer edge of flat Earth and refute entirely every single argument anyone can possibly try to pitch for the sun-worshipping cult of heliocentrism.
God love him.
Ahead of the heliocentrism.
Heliocentrism.
The cult of, I'm sorry, you're correct. The cult of heliocentrism.
Yes.
The people that believe the earth is round are in a cult.
Yes, and the sun is at the center.
I have a problem, Eric. Because I was in the Navy.
Right.
Anyway. Ahead of
you might have done some sailing, you're saying?
Just putting that out there. Ahead of the release of this documentary, The Flat Earth, to the Edge and Back, controversial I told you, this is the documentary I've been fucking saying, man. Everybody needs to watch it. You still haven't watched it.
No, but I watched that Bob Lazar one.
Yeah, that was because Gareth was coming on this show.
But I watched it. And I watched
move your guard back a little bit. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to read this again. I know this cracked you up. Ahead of the release of the documentary, The Flat Earth, to the Edge and Back, controversial YouTuber Logan Paul has also expressed interest, claiming, quote, if I'm going to put my name out there as a Flat Earth supporter, I want to know the facts. Quote, I am that guy that will make it to the edge, he added. According to Forbes, whether or not he's just trolling remains to be seen. Looks like people are getting serious about this, man.
Look, I heard somewhere, I don't know.
Justin Bieber and Tom Cruise were going to have an MMA match. I haven't seen that materialize yet, though. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't even know where I heard this at or if I read it, but I heard that they said that they were never planning on taking a ship to the edge of the earth, that they were going to have a flat earthers convention on a cruise ship, and that this got out of hand and people started saying that they were going to sail to the edge of the earth. Which
now
is not a
now's
bad
their
idea.
time, man.
Yeah, now's the time, right? I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
Enough people, they've got enough interest that it looks like people are willing to kind of start stepping up and maybe put some money into this.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like the whole Area 51 thing. It's like, I think to say that if nothing else, if you don't believe that the Earth is round and you don't believe that there are not aliens in Area 51, then it seems like there's enough technological advances to make it possible to for sure find out. So people are starting to do it for sure just to make sure.
Yeah, right.
Like the average Joe is like, hey, I can probably afford to fund or me and my friends can afford this. Let's go see.
Let's get a Kickstarter going, man. I mean, like, look, I take the piss out of these guys a lot, to use an English euphemism, right? I mean, I really make fun of these guys. Okay, however. Why the fuck not, man? Let's take the most prominent people, let's stick them out there and let them go out and be the ones who settle this debate once and for all. I don't see any reason. Matter of fact, fuck, let's send some. Well, they would say that the scientists would sabotage it somehow. So then just send them, make them correlate the data. I mean, it's real easy. GPS, just make your marks, Of course, they don't trust GPS. That's all a fallacy too, right? So, like you said, measure the coast. Measure the coast. It either goes all the way around the globe, which encompasses all of every continent, or it's a lot smaller than that.
So I'm guessing they don't believe in global warming.
Well, it's a whole. We live under this. You got to watch this documentary, dude. It's so awesome.
So they believe in domal warming.
It's domal. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just look.
Okay.
I just read the fucking articles, and this happens to be a group of people that I just find fascinating. Like I just want to know how you get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're trying to get there.
However, as flat earthers are all too well aware, the Antarctic Treaty of 1961 could make this difficult. The main purpose of this international treaty is to deny any claim of territorial sovereignty in Antarctica. However, flat earthers argue it strongly restricts private exploration of the area. That said, the treaty does stipulate that the area should have, quote, freedom of scientific investigation. Whether or not this stuff can be defined as science, however, is another question. See, I disagree with that. I say yes.
I say it's science.
I say it's science.
Yeah. I say they have every right to go out there and science.
I support that. As crazy as I think they are, and as settled as I think this is,
at least ideologically support it.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm behind. If I have it, I'll give them some money. I'll throw. If they put a Kickstarter, I will. I don't expect them to find out anything other than the Earth is round, but I'm okay with that because it just revalidates something we already know, right?
In that documentary, do they say why they think that the government or whoever is perpetrating?
I think so.
The idea that it's round. Like, what's the reason that the government is telling people it's round if it's not and they know it?
It wasn't something that I was super like. I couldn't get past. I think they do discuss it. I don't remember specifically the reasoning
because
that they
I can't
gave.
imagine why they would. So I can't imagine why anyone would lie about such a thing.
Or how hard that would be to keep secret. Again, we going back to this whole.
But still, why would? Yeah. What reason could you imagine that you might have if you knew that and you were the only one that knew? Why would you keep it? Why would you keep it secret?
That's my point. I wouldn't. I can't think of any. But they had reasons why.
And I want to know what they are.
Well, you need to watch the fucking documentary.
I know. That's what you keep
it's
telling
really,
me.
really, really good. No, it is. It's excellent. And I look. Like I said, I make a lot of fun of people that believe in this stuff. However, in a way, I definitely empathize with them. But I'm all for people finding the truth.
I don't like my curiosity to dictate my academic selection.
There's been a lot of shit in my life, man, that I didn't believe until I had to kind of go out and figure it out for myself. And now I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, yes. There's things that I used to believe that I don't anymore. You evolve, right? But everybody's got to kind of find that path on their own. So, yes, if you're going to go down the road, look, man, God bless you if you're going to take on a subject matter that would be as controversial or seen as ridiculous as this. But if you're going to stand out there and take the arrows and the barbs and defend this, I mean, that takes some balls, bro. That really takes some balls. It does. It's not easy.
No, I agree. I agree. I totally agree.
And when you ostracize these people, all you do is push them deeper into a tribe. And
there's no reason to ostracize them. There's no reason why they can't find their path out there and, so to speak, and get what they need out of their life. There's a part of me
that really feels bad, man. Like, and I really want them to have like this excursion, and I want them to have this final cathartic kind of, because once you pull the thread on I was a huge lover of conspiracy theories. We've talked about this, but they all seem to vet out about the same way.
Yeah.
There's, with some exceptions. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes people and governments and institutions do really heinous shit. And they're up to really bad stuff. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Bizarre shit.
And that's what makes this. But I love the flights of mind, I guess the mind mapping that has to go on to put all of these kinds of things together.
And it's good to know that in a world where it seems like a lot of people are sheep, that there are people who are still free enough thinkers to completely go against even the most basic situations.
There still needs to be a special place in everybody's heart, no matter how ridiculous someone's claims are, for the people that still want to question everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
what this show is about.
It's a fucking noble pursuit, man. It is, dude. Yeah. It's an absolutely noble pursuit, bro. So that's our bag of shit for tonight, folks. That's the articles. Wow. That's good stuff, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to build a cloud chamber.
Oh, per our conversation with Gareth and the couple podcasts ago.
Well, and specifically the Bob Lazar footage that we seen, where I was like, dude, that looks like a cloud chamber.
What would be really cool is if somehow you could recreate that and then discuss
the film footage.
Yeah, like recreate it as it.
Well, the one I was looking
in
at
the film footage
looked a lot like that. It was about the same size.
Is it like some sort of kit or something that you can order? Is that what it is?
Not, you just have to get the pieces and stuff. I mean, all a cloud chamber is basically a airtight vacuum area that's got glass that you can see into it, and there's like alcohol in there that's vaporized, and then when cosmic particles hit that vaporized alcohol, it lights up the electrons of the atoms and makes a trail that's visible to the naked eye, and it looks like little Star Wars things,
like laser beams, or something?
going back and forth. Yeah, and if you put a magnet under it, and you know what to look for, you can tell what kind of particles that are hitting.
This is something that anybody could like make from
costs
parts.
About $100. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can tell what kind of particles, what kind of subatomic particles that they are.
Okay, well, wait a minute. This is
bend.
really interesting here, man. Let me back you up here for a second, because I guess I did not sort of understand what a cloud chamber was or its implications. So what you're basically saying, though, is that there's a thing for under $100 you can build, put in your house, that allows you to, with the naked eye, to be able to see subatomic particles.
Yeah, and not only subatomic particles, but subatomic particles under the effect of the dilation of space-time, like Einstein described it, which is one of the main proofs that space-time, that relativity exists.
A repeatable experiment.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
So could you do Bob Lazar's cloud chamber experiment? Do you think you could recreate that?
Yeah, it costs about $100 to make it. I just got to come up with the money to do it. Aside from that, yes.
Well, we'll do it. We'll do a video. We'll get Gareth back on and shit too, man. I'm assuming he wants to come back on, but he said he did. He would love to come back on, but yeah, we could have like Gareth and or shit. I don't know. I don't think there's any implications in the electric universe stuff with cloud chambers.
I don't know.
Well, who knows, man? We'll put something together and let the guys look at it and see what they think.
I've wanted the cloud chamber since I was like 12 or something.
Of course you do. Of course.
I just thought it would be a good time since we've been talking about it.
Daniel Smith.
Yep.
Of course you want a cloud chamber. And
yeah,
of course you've wanted one since you were 13. 13? 13 was that?
Yeah, 12 or 13.
12 or 13.
Yeah.
Right around when most boys
about 12, I think.
Most boys are starting to collect their grandfather's Playboys. You wanted a cloud chamber.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was yeah.
Like you're just like, yeah, and
yeah. I still do. I think that's neat. I think it would be neat to see the different kinds of particles. You can see murons and electrons and some other things, and the way you can tell that they're under the effects of relativity is that their half-life, like in a laboratory, is 2.2 seconds, but they travel from the top of the atmosphere down, and because they're traveling at the speed of light or near the speed of light, their time frame slows down so much compared to ours that they're actually able to make it all the way down to the ground and beyond and into the cloud chamber before their half-life expires, because their personal frame of reference clock is slowed down by
because of how
speed.
fast they're moving, right?
So they actually last, from our perspective, long enough for them to reach where we're at and see it. Otherwise, their half-life would have them dead in the atmosphere and gone. So that's one of the main proofs of relativity, in fact.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you got to do this, man. I want to see this thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this was like a thing, like that you could actually like Heathkit your own home built.
Yeah. You can build a cyclotron in your garage.
And that would be used for.
It's like the Large Hadron Collider, that thing at CERN.
Okay.
It's like you can make a small one of those, like in your garage.
And the purpose would be to do testing or
to smash particles.
Particles together?
Yeah.
Hey, what are we doing the weekend?
The same thing everyone does with the cyclotrons. They smash particles together.
We're going to do some high energy physics shit
in the garage.
In the garage.
Yeah, you can do stuff like that. You can make rail guns.
Well, I'm aware rail guns are really interesting, but I get those because Matt like blows shit.
But it's the same thing. You know? It's the same thing as the other two things. Cloud chambers, cyclotrons, rail guns, all these things you can build in your garage, and they're all like energy, magnetism, physics of some type.
Yeah, energy. They are. Yeah, energy.
I encourage people to do garage physics.
For sure. Shade tree mechanics. Just be careful because you can fucking kill yourself doing that stuff.
Yeah, you can blow power grids. I believe Michio Kaku blew a power grid with the cyclotron he was building
in his garage or in his basement or something.
Yeah, and then he was, I believe, was trying to or did use the football field and he wrapped a bunch of copper wire around both ends of the poles to make it. I believe he either wanted to or he did. It was something crazy like that.
It just, like a mad scientist out there. He does look like a mad scientist too. Yeah, what was I going to say to you? Shit, I was going to say something.
You got to give me another clue.
I'm working on it. What was it? It had something to do with all this stuff. Shade tree mechanics, backyard physics. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you knew this. There was a bunch of people for a while, and I think they're still doing it, but there's this whole move towards using hydrogen as a fuel source for internal combustion engines in cars. So you can like Google and YouTube these hydrogen generators that you can put in your car that you then can, if you don't have a normally aspirated vehicle or a car that what we call has a carburetor and has a fuel injector instead, sometimes you have to like do some special chips on the computer and stuff. But basically you feed hydrogen into the air intake along with the way that you normally drive your car with the fuel, and then it mixes, but the hydrogen then becomes a combustible. And it burns a little cleaner and a little hotter, and then that supplements your fuel consumption, your consumption of gasoline, or petroleum-based fuels. So to create the hydrogen, they have this there's a series of stainless steel plates with an anode and a cathode, and you're using DC to create electrolysis. And as part of that, and stainless steel interacts with the water, and then you have to put a sodium solution in it. But ultimately, what you can do is through electrolysis, you can get water to separate and give up hydrogen. And it's okay. That's great. You can create hydrogen. The problem with hydrogen is the shit likes to explode, right? So it's really got to be handled. Like, first of all, you don't want to compress it.
You don't want to put it in a blimp.
You definitely don't want to put it in a blimp, okay? Right? We know that from history, okay? Oh, shit. But you don't want to store it in any way. You just want to make sure it basically exhausts into your air intake, but otherwise it exhausts out the atmosphere and never collects. But people have been like blowing their fucking trunks up in their cars and stuff, messing. Yeah, so it's great. It's like, okay, I think it's neat. There's some real physics and different stuff going on here, and some chemistry, and so this is all really good stuff. However, when you
don't blow yourself up.
physics, unfortunately, is a bitch, man, and it does what it does, and if you're not paying it due respect, it can bite you really quick in a bad way. It's not a good thing. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I put that disclaimer out there. If you're going to do garage physics,
don't blow yourself up.
Make sure you're taking all the adequate safety precautions. Have you watched any of I know you haven't. Adam Savage, my biological brother from another mother, the guy I look like but don't. Anyway, I love you, Adam Savage. Love me back. Anyway, he's got a new show out called Savage Builds. And like the first show, they built an Iron Man suit, like out of actual printed titanium. It was really cool. So they printed this whole Iron Man suit out of 3D printed titanium.
Oh wow!
And then he actually made it fly. They got this dude that makes these jet packs that's got jets on his arm and a jetpack, and he can actually get up and hover and zoom around with this jetpack like system. So it's kind of like remember the old rocket guy that could like jump over the building, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So this is like a version of that, but he's actually using turbine engines, and he gets a lot longer flight time than the guy with the chemical rockets. But anyway, but one of the things I noticed on his show and now versus like when he was on Mythbusters is they mess a lot more dangerous shit up on this new show. And if I remember right, that was one of the sort of things that he always had that rub with his partner on Mythbusters was this guy named Jamie Heineman. And Jamie's very much a safety, like he's very much about doing things safely, and Adam tended to lend a little more over to the well, fuck it, let's just do it and see what happens kind of thing. And now that he's got his own show and the other dude isn't around, some of the shit that they're doing, and I'm looking at this going, you're gonna do this, and I'm just thinking about the physics involved. Like they did this thing with this giant flywheel that they got spinning, heavy fucking flywheel. They got it spinning like super fast, and they're gonna clamp brakes on it to create a reaction that would make this thing roll. But they don't have any like mechanism to control its direction or any of this kind of stuff. So luckily the brakes couldn't handle the load, so they failed, immediately, and that was kind of the end of it. But I wonder if they had actually imparted this into this energy into this thing, if it wouldn't have just like ran through the wall of the building or something like that. So, yeah, be careful, I guess, is what I'm getting at when you're playing with physics, because it'll bite you in the ass.
And that won't be a good thing.
That's a bad thing.
Blow up your garage, and then you won't have a happy family.
Okay. Am I looking this?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second.
I don't know about the spelling on that.
I'm being passed a note here, ladies and gentlemen, from the Illuminati. They want me to look something up here real quick. And let me see what I find here. Is that grass?
Yeah, it's an intermediate grass. It's supposed to be the next big thing in not only food but carbon, as a carbon sink. It's
well, I'm finding people named Cara grass, but
that's funny.
Let's do this again. So what is this, like the new? It's like a new superfood.
It might be spelled with a C. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a food. It's supposed to be a carbon sink. Its root system is supposed to be like 10 times longer than the plant itself.
There we go.
It's supposed to be like an amazing new agrarian movement that's going on.
Okay, it's a, where are we at here? Twisted pot. Okay, Cara. I see images for it. It looks like your lawn. Cafe Press. Cara grass. Images for Cara grass. Well, it's got the word grass in it, so maybe I'm not even looking at the right thing. You know, maybe we're not spelling it right.
Maybe
or
it
something.
is. I don't know. Maybe they're going to put it in food, but it's supposed to be a next big deal, from what they were saying.
Well, no, sawgrass is a big deal too for things like ethanol-based fuels and this kind of thing.
That's cool.
So,
I didn't know that.
No, you said it was carbon. What'd you say it was? Carbon what?
It was a big carbon sink. It stored carbon in its root system, and it had a root system that was way longer than the plant, like much bigger than normal plants in general.
I'd heard this, by the way, about hemp as well, that it's supposed to be really fantastic for restoring fallow ground back to farmable ground, and it's same thing. It's like a carbon sink. You can make like wood pellets for wood pellet stoves and shit out of it, and
That's cool.
I think it actually sequesters more carbon than it produces when you burn it. It's like, you know, and it'll grow like anywhere. Hemp will drive you mad, man. If you start seeing all not the, you know, hemp, the shit you can't smoke.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see all the benefits of it. Like, it's crazy. It's like, why don't we fucking do this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah, I don't see anything here, man. Maybe this might be one of the things you're going to have to like look up and send me an article for. But there's definitely a lot of articles about grass as a renewable energy source. You know, anybody that's ever had cows knows they're that it's that. Some of it you grow long and you cut and you throw it in the barn until the winter when the grass doesn't grow for them too, and they're okay with that shit as well. It's pretty wild.
For the local people that are in our area, we'd just like to have a shout out for Kings of Vapor.
Oh, right, we forgot to do that. Right, we got to do that.
Well, we were doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stepped on your lead. Go ahead.
No, you were looking for a battery bay, a 2 battery bay,
Charger, right?
Charger, yeah, two bay, right?
Yep.
Couldn't find anywhere. Went to 3 or 4 different places around town. Everybody was charging a pretty good amount for those, and went right in there. And you were just in a super hurry because you hadn't ate. You'd been fasting, and you were just ready to go before you walked in.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I had to convince you to keep looking around.
Yeah, you made me go. It was like there's one more spot we can go.
There's like a dozen in town, but they had what we wanted. They had it quick. They signed us up to their list that they have.
The rewards program, which was absolutely painless, instantaneous.
They were knowledgeable, professional, and it was a pleasure to swoop in there and grab it and go.
Do you remember the name of the guy that took care of us in there?
I do believe that his name was maybe Blake.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, something to that effect anyway.
Because the card is in the car, I think, still. We had a card, and I think it's in the car still.
Right, so that's right. We said we were going to give them a shout-out. They took care of me. So here we go. There's a shout-out. So what's the name of the vape store?
Kings of Vapor on Edie Road.
Yeah.
I do believe they have a Facebook page.
Yeah, and I think you can order from them online as well.
Probably.
I think we saw that they do.
But go in and check out their wear because they do have stock on
On hand, yeah. And a really, really interesting, really nice professional store inside.
Yes.
Yeah, really clean, good-looking place. Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Kings of Vapor. All right, is that it, man? You want to wrap up there? It's an hour and a half.
Let me think about that for a minute. Let me think about this. I suppose so.
You're assuming the statuesque image of the thinker over there. That's pretty good. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a rating on iTunes, etc. And if you would, give us a share. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bicycles.